We're urbanizing at well over 1 million people a week. That means that every 2 months, there's the equivalent of a New York metropolitan area being erected on this planet. Is there kind of an optimum or maximum size to a city? Could you have Tokyo 100 million or Mexico City 100 million?
The economy will double in the next 20 years. And the infrastructure needs for economic development are just enormous. You can't do really economic development without infrastructure.
The whole point of having a city, the whole point of all that infrastructure is a way of bringing people together, create new things, and in particular create wealth.
Bridges, railroads, buildings, and dams. These are just a few of the key components to a successful city. Hundreds of cities around the globe all share these similar characteristics. From New York, London, Dubai, Shanghai to Sydney, all possess excellent infrastructure. In today's world, a city's economic position is often reflected in the amount of infrastructure the city contains. All of my speculations, suspicions, and fantasies have built up to this research question: why is it important to have infrastructure, and how will it affect the future? These are questions that need to be answered. China is developing new trade relations known as the OBOR, One Belt, One Road Plan, enhancing economic relations between China, Asia, Africa, as well as Europe. Through this mechanism, China has been building roads throughout Eurasia. The project's main idea is to build a network of roads, railways, oil pipelines, power grids, ports, and other infrastructure projects meant to connect China to the world. This project can't be done without the development of infrastructure. Without roads, bridges, and ports, no one can initiate trade with one another. Also, as new trade routes are formed, countries will be able to take advantage of becoming more economically stable. Trade is one of the single most important parts in a country's social and economic development. As a result, China has economically dominated Eastern Europe and parts of Africa. Kenya is an example, having performed well in the past decade in terms of economic growth. What experts and researchers are blown away by is the constant rate of growth it can maintain. For a country to maintain steady growth is very difficult, especially with the many ongoing conflicts both regionally and globally. Nevertheless, Kenya continues to see growth. The question is, how did Kenya achieve this feat? The key to any country's economic success is usually found within native developments, and by this we mean infrastructure, one of the single most important pieces in the actual development of a country. Through infrastructure, Kenya was able to trade and form economic relations with its neighboring countries. As a result, Kenya's economy boomed, and the citizens in the country are living happier after all. If you look all around the world at any advanced city, you can find one thing in common: good infrastructure. In almost all cases, if a country has modern infrastructure, it is accompanied with an advanced and prosperous economy. Change is obvious and permanent, and Uzbekistan has achieved high rates of economic growth through its economic, financial, and social reforms. Over the last 10 years, the country's poverty rate has dropped significantly. And with recent economic liberalization, privatization, and free market application, Uzbekistan has become a country on the rise due to its social development. Additionally, the miracle can also be viewed from an infrastructure perspective. Now the country is covered in new roads, means of communication, state hospitals, and colleges. Due to this, the country has created over 1 million new jobs for the Uzbeks. In 2006, Nigeria established diplomatic relations with China with an oil for infrastructure plan to fill their development aperture. Nigeria and China do not share anything in common. The two countries are divided by an ocean and on separate continents. Nigerians don't listen to Chinese music, but they do watch the great fight scenes. The two countries are so distant apart in culture and daily life that you would have a hard time finding a Nigerian-Chinese child. Regardless, the two countries have developed a mutually beneficial economic agreement. Nigeria has never really had good urban infrastructure. They lack railroads and their highways are like partial death traps. The sad state of affairs is changing soon as China loans out massive funds for development projects in Nigeria. Nigeria finally is addressing this critical need, not only for economic development purposes, but for the well-being of the people. Due to this investment, the daily lives of Nigerians have improved, and nowadays people can walk and drive on well-paved roads and take part in luxurious and middle-class establishments, which is the sole reason for the rising economy in Nigeria. Throughout all of the studies, it was presented that economic growth was strongly connected with infrastructure growth. Also, it was shown that this was true for more undeveloped countries. In general, when a country is faced with an economic crisis or a reform, Most of the times the solution would be to build more infrastructure and encourage trade. But trade cannot be conducted without infrastructure. Furthermore, citizens are overall happier living in a country with a modern infrastructure and urban environment.